All right, now let's head to Uganda as we begin with the Daily Monitor newspaper. On the front page of the Daily Monitor newspaper, the big story says, among plan to return 500 iron sheet stalls. On mystery, it says on March 30th, OPM authorized MMI Steel to manufacture 500 iron sheets at a cost of 71,000 shillings, each for Speaker Among, and deliver them to OPM stores in Namanve. But unknown to the Speaker, the authorization letter mysteriously went missing after it reportedly left OPM. This has been a conversation. The iron sheet scandal has been a conversation we've been following up here with, as well as the Daily Monitor has been following up with it on the newspapers. We can see the photograph here of State Minister for Karamoja Affairs, Mary Kitutu. She's escorted to the cells after she was denied bail by the anti-corruption court yesterday over having only one substantial surety, yet she was required to have more than one. She will return to court tomorrow to apply for bail again. Court has, of course, declined to grant Minister Kitutu bail. Still on the front page, government revises malaria prevention interventions amid increased drug resistance on page 7. Police apologize for attack on journalists. Apologizing is a great step, but what's next? Are they going to ensure that these attacks don't happen again? Are there people who are going to be dealt with for attacking them? These are some of the questions that we're asking. House Committee okays 40 billion shillings payout to ESCOP. At the top of the paper, a glimpse at 8 government loss-making enterprises. DM Today talks about the evolution of car safety features on page 18. And final story this morning, drug shortages persist despite recent supplies. That's something that's been a recurring story in Uganda about how they're having drug shortage in the country. It's not quite clear what is the cause of this drug shortage, but there have been supplies, but there still is a shortage. And that's what happens usually when there's a shortage of anything. Even when they bring in fresh supplies, people are still in trauma mode, so they'll be hoarding. So there will still be some form of a shortage for a while before things will not even out. It's like trust. There's a trust deficit. So it's like, let me hold something before we look for this medication and we can't find them again. Anyway, that's all we can take from the Daily Monitor on the Daily Monitor in Uganda.
All right. Away from that, let's go straight to West Africa this time. But before we do that, let's stick to the East. Let's talk about one of the biggest, still the biggest story that's ongoing with the Daily Nation, especially in Kenya this morning. Raila's agent spills the beans on poll loss. Eventually, well, you can see the picture of Raila Odinga with the very gigantic mobile device, possibly speaking to some of his aides. And you can have a look at the pictures to the right. On the right, it says, it points to Uhuru Kenyatta, not forgetting to Mohoho Kenyatta. And you also have Kanchori Ole Musa, who's also there as well in the picture. Well, Mr. Odinga has defended his campaign manager, saying the election was rigged. Anyway, let's take a look at the insiders, what they have to say. They say Saitaboa Ole Kanchori, who served as chief agent of Azimio leader Raila Odinga in the general election last year, has thrown the cat among the pigeons with his book. Why Baba is not the fifth, in which he tells of the chaos, power struggles and infighting among top campaign managers that ensued at the coalition's command center that was under then President Uhuru Kenyatta's brother, Mohoho Kenyatta. So he kind of like tells the entire story of how Raila Odinga lost, and he wasn't afraid to actually spill the beans. And like many said, he tossed Raila Odinga under the moving vehicle. So you might want to read. But will this dent Raila Odinga's interest, image, and of course his sheer will to continue to pursue the opposition or the ruling party in ensuring that they give him the handshake that he's looking for? Or will they actually go to the book and say, listen, this is how you lost, so do not disturb us any longer? We'll find out as time, only time
will tell. Absolutely.
Exactly. Let's take a look at other stories very quickly. Talks. Azimio warns of return to mass action. Page 4 has that story. Well, still a follow-up. They vow to resume street protests if rivals frustrate their demands. He's still vowing to frustrate the demands, but we'll see what happens. Alarm as counties huddle towards financial crisis. Another story there. Very quick one. No funds. You can still invest in real estate. You find that story in page 2 or page, I beg your pardon. Yep, just check inside. And one more. Mass graves, bodies haunt DR Congo. Locals say they were forced to dig graves and that some victims of the killings were cremated by M23 rebels. Wow. Sad. Really, really sad. Zambia rules out maize export deal. That's another story. We talked about it yesterday.
Absolutely.
You might get more information inside of the Daily Nation. And that's all that we'll take this morning from the Daily Nation.
Right now, let's come from the east to the west, because that's how we roll on Breakfast Central. Look at the front page of
Were
the...
you trying to rap us? Hold on. What are you trying to do?
That's how we roll from the east to the west.
That's how we roll, like egg roll.
You know.
I know.
All right, let's punch you with the front page of the Punch newspaper. We don't subscribe to violence, however. On the front page, the big story there says, CBN Forex ban. Nigerians imported 18 trillion naira cooking oil, meat, others in 7 years, according to a report. 18 trillion naira cooking oil. You know, when you hear headlines like this, you're thinking of how
Jobs.
much...
For me, I think of jobs.
You're thinking of, jobs one hand. On the other hand, these are things that we have here that we can't create here. Why are we so import dependent? When do we get to the point where Nigeria becomes more production and much more production than consumption, to the point that we can then start to export? Until we get to that point, we're always going to keep going around in circles and talking about external reserves running low and talking about, all these sort of conversations. Importers ordered agric, animal products, and others from Asian, EU, and African countries. Firms sourced dollars at parallel market over CBN Forex ban on 41 items. Now, many years ago, I think almost about 7 years ago, there were certain items that the CBN had, there was a CBN Forex ban issued on these items. And part of the reasons that were given for this Forex ban many years ago was the fact that they had hoped that this would encourage Nigeria to be more production than import based. But I don't know if that Forex ban really worked, because whilst you ban Forex on those, look at the news is saying people go to the parallel market. Yeah. And it's the same thing with people who travel abroad as well, right? You say to them that, BTA, now this is it's apples and oranges, but people will always find a way to get what they need. You say to them, you can only give them $2,000 for BTA, and they have to apply 120 days ahead. Then go to black market and go and buy. So I don't know if CBN is ever going to be successful in scrapping the parallel market. It would always meet the needs of Nigerians. But yeah, these are the challenges that importing has cost us. And I don't know how we're going to get out of that anytime soon. At the top of the paper, federal government to repay World Bank $800 million loan for 25 years. Wow. Okay. On page 8, you have doctors in diaspora petition National Assembly over anti-immigration bill or anti-migration bill. It's getting hotter.
Yeah.
The story
I saw that yesterday.
So we've talked about the story since Monday, because it's almost like every day there's a new development with this story. So yes, the doctors in diaspora have lent a voice as well. Senate probes accountant general over 74 billion naira funds. Atiku dismisses exile plan, slams protesters. Police arrest 2 over OAU students' death on page 4. Lagos Ibadan stadiums owes 950 million naira electricity bills, according to diary on page 30. Final story says Banana Island 7-story building collapses. Lagos alleges structure lacks permit. This story makes me feel a number of feelings, but I will not attend to these feelings. We're going to talk about the story in depth because it's one of our top stories, but it's the most heartbreaking story to see on the front page of the newspaper this morning, like Joe said, yet again.
Vanguard is the paper we will begin with this second hour. And what do we find? Yes, we do find some of the biggest stories as well. One of them is a presidential poll. APC, PDP fight over validity of outcome. That's what it says. APC and PDP fight over validity of outcome. What is the outcome, or what was the outcome of the just concluded presidential elections? Well, why APC's electoral victory must not stand, PDP, PCC says judiciary on trial must save Nigeria. Tinubu's victory reflects will of Nigerians, APC also says. Well, tells Atiku, we didn't supply beavers, INEC adds whipping up sentiments won't help PDP's case. All right, so first time. It's been a long time since we heard the PDP really come out in the fray and also speak, but now they're doing so, and that's exactly what you have. At the top there, let's go. Budget deficit, DMO to sell 360 billion naira FGN bonds. Budget deficit, DMO to sell 360 billion naira FGN bonds. Well, let's go to another one. Kaduna, 125 killed, 60 kidnapped in 82 days. In just 82 days, 125 persons have been killed, 60 kidnapped in 82 days. Ignore opposition, APC won presidential poll, Tinubu tells foreign media. Ignore opposition, APC won presidential poll, Tinubu tells foreign media. Wike called me 19 times. I don't know if you saw that video.
I saw it.
Wike called me 19 times in 2 hours, lobbying to be Atiku's running mate, Dino Melaye. He spoke, and he spoke tough. Just 2 days ago, everywhere was indeed on fire after he went ahead to open his, like he said, cans of worms. Okay, let's go on to another one very quickly. How Obi was detained at London airport for hours. Obi won't be deterred by UK immigration officials' harassment, media office says. Killings, our headers killed 89, reduced 31 communities to rubble in Benue local government area. The leaders have spoken, very sad. In sports, Ubade, nothing Eaglets do will be special. You might want to take a look at that story as well. It's about ahead of the AFCON under-17 tourney. Olufasa, with this year's election petitions, the judiciary has an opportunity to redeem itself. It must seize it, so says. Page 16 has that story. And last one, I'm going to take this especially coming from the Vanguard, is one that says, LP crisis festers as factions clash over control of Secretariat. You have that on page 8. Go read the Vanguard. It's fully loaded.
It's loaded. It reminds me of a song by a certain poet named Ashake where he said, I'm loaded. All right, let's move away from the Vanguard to...
Is it a poet?
Yes, no. The Daily Times in Nigeria. Goodness. The front page of the Daily Times says, G5... Oh, wow, there's still G5 governors? Oh, wow. G5 governors launch new onslaught against IU's men. Wike inconsolable after loss of presidential ticket, says Momodu.
Is there still G5 governors?
Well, my shock exactly that they were even the big story. It's been a long time no see you. Una welcome. Unado. Fresh facts emerge about Obi's ordeal with immigration officials in the UK. Workers trapped as building collapses in highbrow Banana Island. Nigeria growth figure to decline further to 3.0% in 2024, says IMF. Kogi governorship 2024. Court nullifies APC's delegates list. At the top of the paper, we have our final story this morning on the front page of the Daily Times. Atiku writes Code of Conduct Bureau to halt investigation of activities. And that's all we can take. Let's move away from the west to the south of Africa.
All right, let's move to another paper. This very morning, it's the Sowetan.
Oh, I miss Sowetan.
Yeah, it's been a long time. Sowetan.
Yeah.
Front page there, you can see their faces. The 4 suspects in the murder case of Hilary Gardy walked out of the magistrate's court yesterday after the provisional withdrawal of charges against them. They say there were no witnesses. People didn't come forward to actually speak. So why do you have them in custody if you say they're guilty but there's no proof and the likes? But you can read all about it. I'm just trying to summarize what we took note of the early hours of this morning. Joburg taximen make peace. Page 6 has that story. MPs sorry?
No, I said, oh wow.
Yeah. MPs lash out at G4S bosses, page 4.
As they should.
Who wouldn't?
As they should, because how can you be the security agency charged to protect the most secure prison in South Africa and you allow something like this happen under your nose? So it's not just the escape of a convicted felon, it's also the fact that some other person's body was, involved in this, burnt, there was arson committed, and there's also high-level corruption. So yes, they should be trashed.
Unapologetically, they should. Actually, yes, they should. If you watched that and you saw the ongoing, the drilling and the responses, he had a phone. He also have a laptop, just as our guest said, if he was going to further his education while in incarceration. But going ahead to have a phone, and he also was running a business.
Yes, running
he was running
business.
businesses from inside of the cell. Wow. Anyway, let's go on. Marry a mama's boy at your peril.
Wow.
Olive, Mo, and Findy are speaking on page 17.
I'm taking notes.
Am I a mama's boy?
I was about to ask you, are you a mama's boy? I think you have semi-mama boy tendency.
It's there.
Yeah.
We're all born by a woman.
Exactly.
We're all born of a woman.
Exactly. I think the concept of mama's boy has been made popular by movies and stories that seem to portray men as being weak because they love their mothers, which shouldn't be the case, because you can love your mother, you should love your mother in most healthy relationships, but still be able to, and still be able to love your wife. Your heart has the capacity to love more than one person, right? All right. That's all the stories that we can take this morning away from South Africa. If you have any of the stories you'd like to react to, tweet at News Central TV.